So then our next thing what we are going to discuss today is to we will select some of the practice questions and we'll discuss the details, and also we will show you how these questions can be used as a learning activities.
That's right.
Yeah. So the first question which we are going to select is one from the topic 6, different types of information, business information systems. And the question, before the question there is a statement. The following statements are based on the transaction processing system TPS and management information system MIS. And the question is, which of them is incorrect? Important thing, you can see it's a bolded that incorrect. So if there is a question, these words are very important, and which are bolded incorrect. So if it is a correct, again we bold it, and again you can see it is and are. That means there can be one or more answers. So we are not going to tell you. So sometimes there will be only one answer in that number of out of 5 choices, and sometimes more than one. Yes. It is possible to have all the choices be correct.
Yes.
And Dr. Amaya, now can we go through in this question all these choices and see what are those things, whether they are correct and wrong?
Yes, let's try out this question. Now, if you take the first possible answer, outputs generated from a TPS do not provide adequate information for decision making compared to outputs generated by an MIS. Now, in an organization, a TPS is used at a very operational level for routine work, for day-to-day transactions like that. So a TPS, for example, will do the payroll. That is a TPS system. And also in a point of sale terminal, this type of systems help to give the receipt to the customer, calculate the amount that is required from the customer to pay. So, but if you take a MIS, that is slightly different because it is used at a middle level management, especially for decision making. So the outputs are more or less report oriented. So the outputs generated by an MIS are reports which aids in decision making. So therefore we consider this as a correct statement, because from a TPS do not provide adequate information for decision making compared to the MIS.
So that involves a comparison of the two information systems.
That's
so if
right.
we consider the hierarchy, the MIS come the higher than the TPS, which
is more or less operational
for the decision making process, the output.
That's right.
Okay, the next one then.
And second one is MISs carry out repetitive information processing and handles large volumes of data than a TPS. Now I mentioned earlier on, for routine work, for large volume handling only we use a TPS compared to the MIS. So there is repetitive information processing there if you compare it. So therefore that is also a carry out that is wrong, because MISs are less repetitive information processing and handles less volumes of data than a TPS. And if you look at the third statement, input to a MIS includes internal data resources generated by a TPS. That is, once you the data that you generate from a TPS usually is used for an MIS. So that acts like an input to a MIS. So through that information, the MIS will generate reports which will help decision making. So that statement is correct. Input to a TPS can include internally generated transactions. So as we mentioned before, these are all sort of day-to-day routine transaction based work. So internal data will be used for a TPS. So that will be input to a TPS. So that is also a correct statement. Yeah. If you look at the following statement, the batch processing allows transactions to be processed as and when they occur. Now there are two types of processing, mainly two types we say in a transaction processing system, which is online processing and batch processing. Now batch processing is you collect the data for a certain period of time and process it later on. So not as and when you get it. That is known as online processing. So therefore that is incorrect.
So that is the batch processing is, that statement is wrong. So actually it's online, or sometimes people call it real-time processing, and is where when and where the data, the transaction or something in an event occurs, it processes and
as and when it happens. Yes.
And what you can see on all these choices is, it's what you have to select whether they are correct or wrong. But at the learning stage, what we recommended to analyze these points. When you go for the assignments, we leave the time for the assignments as an open, where you can take enough time, go through the learning material and see whether this is correct or wrong. And we do not encourage people to do a blind copying from some other sources and select what is correct and what is wrong. As a learning activity, if you can consider, it is as something where you consider why this is wrong, why this is correct, and what is the correct one. Now, for example, if you carefully analyze the batch processing thing, the statement, the last one, so you can identify that is a statement related to the online or real-time processing. So try to use all these choices to learn a little bit more than the answer for the one question in the learning stage. But when you go for the exams, then it will be much easier. If you looked at the objective for this particular question, that it looks like there are two objectives for this one.
That's right. There are two objectives. So I took it from the syllabus. Identify basic activities and business objectives common to all transaction processing systems. So basically, a student should be able to know what a transaction processing system is and why are they being used in an organization, and the activities associated with the TPS. And also you have to be able to identify the differences and the similarities between a TPS and a MIS.